Okay, students, in the last class, class that was done on Friday, uh, that last 1 week of class, we just saw the basics that are necessary for you people to know before going into in detail of software engineering subject. On the last Friday, we are about to start our software engineering subject, but before going into it deeply, we just saw the realities that you need to keep in your mind while developing any software project. So these are the basic realities I told you to keep in mind while developing any software project. The first thing is I asked you to first understand the problem before developing a solution for the problem. We told that design plays a major role. If the design part is success, then most of the cases, the final product will be a successful one. And yeah, any software engineer major goal should be to produce a high quality software, not to just develop a software. Any people will be developing a software, but your main goal is to develop a high quality software. And finally, yeah, the software you have been developed should be maintainable. So these are the realities I told you need to keep in mind. And coming to this today's class of software engineering, in today's class we'll be seeing the layer technology of software engineering. Any software engineering development process follows 4 layers according to the authors. So these 4 layers include the first one is the quality focus, which is at the bottom layer. This is the heart of the software engineering, as I am keeping on telling from the beginning that your main goal should be the quality focus, right? So this is the bottom layer, the quality focus. You'll be having number of approaches by which you can check whether your product is of quality one or not. The major one we'll be seeing is Six Sigma. We'll be seeing it in the later classes. So you'll be having different approaches. By following those approaches, you should develop a quality product. So this is the bottom layer, and the next layer is the process. So process, I can say that this is the glue which is going to keep all these 4 layers together, right? By using this process only, all these 4 layers can be combined. I can say that this process is contains some activities, actions, and tasks, or what are all the things that should be done in order to produce a working product, finally executable code, final software. So in order to produce that product, what are all the things that should be done? All this will be included in this process models. So you'll be seeing different process models in our syllabus as per your application, as per your requirements. There is no need that all the software should be developed using only one process model. You'll be having different number of process models. Every model has its advantages and disadvantages. You'll check which model will be apted for your project, and you'll go on using that process model. You develop your software, right? And this is the process model that is the heart of next basic heart of this layer technology. And next one is methods you will be having on the third layer. So the method, these methods tells us how to develop. So in the process models, I'll ask you, you develop this module, you develop that module, you follow this phase, you follow that phase. All these things we'll be discussing in the process model. I'll just tell you, you develop, you perform testing. I'll just tell you, you design. I'll just tell you, you check. So in the methods, we'll be going in detail. I asked you to test. Here you'll see how to test. You'll go into the technical issues in detail. Here in process, I ask you to test. In methods, I'll tell you how to test, what technology should be used to test, and so that you'll go the technical things that should be considered, right? So all this comes under methods. And the last layer you'll be having is the tools. Tools can be any automated tools or semi-automated tools that are used in software engineering. Okay, our layer technology has these 4 layers which everyone should know. The bottommost is the quality, process, methods, and tools. We'll just go in detail of each layer. So the first base layer I told you is the quality focus. How can you say that your product is a quality, had a better quality? So there should be some characteristics that should be by which I should be able to describe the quality of my product, right? So these I have displayed some of the characteristics here. for a good quality software. The first characteristic should be correctness of the functions required to be performed by the software. See here, the correctness of the function. So what does it mean? For suppose I'm writing an application for ATM application. I'm having different modules in it, different functions in it. Maybe one of the module is for withdrawal, one of the module is for crediting, so and so. One of the module is just for balance inquiry, all these modules. So one function is withdrawal function. See here, what we are saying is when I'm running a withdrawal function, the money should be withdrawn from my account, but not something else should not be done there. For suppose if I'm running withdrawal function, amount should not be credited, right? Or some other action should not be performed. So every module has some functionality to be performed. So that module should perform that function that is described. That is what we are saying here, correctness of the function. What task should be performed, that should be performed by that function. For library, for suppose I'm writing a module for book renewal. If I run that module, the book should be renewed. That's it. That's the functionality of that module. So that is the first thing you should check to say that your product is a quality product, correctness of the functions. And the next one is maintainability of the software. So we already told you your picture does not end just by completing your project and completing your code and just throw it away. The big picture does not end for any software engineer. That is not the end. When will be the end for any software engineer? In the sense, your product that is developed by you should be maintained by you for some couple of years, right? Maintainability includes maybe you'll develop the complete product, you'll give it to the client, you'll ask him to check what are all the ask him to run in real life environment. When he is using in real life, he'll be facing some difficulties, he'll be facing some flaws, some errors, right? He'll come to you and ask you to rectify. That comes under maintainability. Or even though if the client is fully satisfied, you don't have any errors in your software, he is fully satisfied, after some period of time, the client wants some new features to be added into the software, right? Then again, he comes to you and asks to include some more extra features within that old software. So that comes from the maintainability. So this maintainability includes couple of activities by taking the feedback from the client, right? So this comes under maintainability. So if your software is able to be maintainable, then I can say that product is of good quality. That is one point you need to remember. And the next one is integrity. Integrity in the sense providing security so that unauthorized users cannot access information or data. So every website will be having for suppose we are conducting some online exams for you. Only the admin has the permission to enter into the site. Only the admin has the permission to give you the question paper and so, right? Normal users can't enter into the website, right? So in the sense, it is protected by some passwords or by some logins. So this is the integrity feature we are telling you. In the sense, it should be secure and only the genuine person should be able to enter, should be able to access that account. That is what we are saying. If you are having integrity security feature, then it comes under better quality product. And last one is the usability. That is the efforts required to use or operate the software. See, for suppose if you have developed a software, you are very good at coding. You develop the software using very high coding standards and very tricky standards. But there is some other person, maybe you are a hard worker, very hard worker. You referred all the documents previously and you just developed a very nice technical project, okay, which is very difficult for normal people to understand, and only the technical people who is an expert in that area can easily understand your project. And there is one of your friend who is a smart worker. You are a hard worker, the other is a smart worker, right? What he wants is, he also developed the project, but he did not include more risky things into it, more difficult things to understand. He just developed the software in a simple way so that the normal people, the non-technical people also can understand and able to use that software. Then in both the cases, which software will we generally prefer, definitely we'll go for a software which is very easy to understand, right? Both the softwares are producing the correct solution, but one is very simple to use and the other is very difficult to use. So right, so usability is the case where the normal user should be able to use that software in an easy way. That is the efforts required to use or operate with the software. See, you have developed a supermarket application to for one client. While he is using that application, it is very difficult for him to generate a bill. To generate a simple bill, he need to click some number of buttons. He need to move on to the some number of pages, and then only he is able to generate the bill. So in that case, it will be very difficult, and he'll get irritated for using that software. Even though it is producing the proper result, he'll not be interested in using that software, right? He'll be interested if the bill is generated directly. If you directly keep a text box, one button on the web page, so that by pressing that button, the bill will be automatically generated instead of going into number of links for generating the bill, right? So that is the usability feature, in the sense easy to use to operate the software that has been developed. So these are some of the characteristics by which we can say that the product that has been developed is a quality product. First thing is, it should be correct. It should function. I developed a supermarket application, then my output should be able to, or it should include all the modules for supermarket. You are writing some supermarket application and your code is running for ATM, some ATM, something else is going on inside. So that is not the correct thing, right? I'm asking you one question. You need to respond. You need to give me the answer for that question. Then I'll say it is correct. But I'm asking one question and then you're saying something else, that will not be correct, right? So that is what we are saying here. Maintainability is by taking the feedback from the user. If at all the software need to be changed, if at all the software need to be extended, all these things should be done in the maintainability. Integrity, what we told is only the authorized person should be able to access that software. Usability, what we told is it should be easy to use for normal users. So this is the quality focus layer. And the next one is the process layer. The second layer we told it is the process layer. It is the base layer or foundation layer for any software engineering. See, I can say that this process is the key to keep all the levels together. This is the main key point, key area by which all the levels are being combined, right? So what this process includes is, it includes some framework activities. Every process will include some activities, some actions, some tasks, which we'll be seeing in the next slide. So the thing you need to remember here is, the process contains the procedure for developing your working product. Working product is nothing but final executable product, final result, final code which can be executed, which is running correctly. I'll saying it as a working product. So the process tells me the procedure to develop my working product. What the process contains is, it will include some list of activities, some actions, and some tasks. By performing all these things, finally I'll produce my correct quality working product. Okay, this is the process. And the third one is the methods, which we told that in third layer we are having methods. The method provides the answers of all how to that are asked during the process. In the process phase, I'll say you perform this activity, you perform that activity. I'll say you perform communication activity, you perform testing activity, you perform validation activity. I'll say all these activities in this process. And in methods, I'll go in detail. I just ask you to ask there to just communicate, right? And here you'll just go in detail. You'll see how to communicate here. You'll see how to test, how to design, how to perform. So you'll go into deeper things. So that is called as methods here. Simply, I can say that it provides the technical way to implement the software. In process, I'll give a general way. I'll give a general procedure to do. And going into the methods, we'll go in detail into the technical part. We'll say that to do that process, to do that, you need to use this technical thing. You need to follow this technical thing. That we'll be seeing in the methods. And the topmost layer is nothing but tools. In software engineering, tool is an automated support for the software development. So in software development, I'll be having number of phases. In every phase, I'm having some number of tools which will help me to do my work fastly. That in the sense, we are having some automated software, some automated tools which will do our phases, which will help us in developing our software, right? For example, I'm having it for suppose in software engineering, one of the phase I'll be telling you is design. You need to prepare designs or models. You need to prepare some diagrams. By seeing the diagrams, you need to start your coding. For preparing the designs, there is no need for you to take some pencil and paper and keep on drawing the designs. But you're having some tools, for example, you're having a tool called UML. That tool will be helpful for you'll be having some couple of diagrams, or you'll couple of tools, pictures in it. What you can do is you can just directly drag drop the all those tools and finally prepare your model. There is no need for you, for example, if you want to draw a square, there is no need for you to draw a square. You'll directly have a square button. You'll drag drop the square button into your picture, big picture, right? So that is providing me some automated support. Now maybe you'll not be knowing what are all those designs or what are all those things. For example, you people want to prepare a seminar. Now I am giving you a presentation, right? I have prepared a PPT. Now this PPT is one of a tool that is prepared by Microsoft Publisher. This PPT is a web designing tool that helps me in giving presentations. For suppose you are having another tool, you want to prepare some statistical analysis, some sheets, mathematical things. You are having a tool called Microsoft Excel. By using that Excel, you can directly, there is no need for you to add each and every cell, right? Directly you'll be writing a formula so that all the values, all the cells data will be added. There is no need for you to write a product. There is no need for you to multiply each and every cell's data. You'll be having a formula so that directly the product will be calculated. So that is giving me some automatic support to do my work, right? Similarly, in software engineering also, you will be having different tools that will help you to do your work automatically, that will give you an automatic support. So next, what we are saying here is the tools are integrated. That is, the information created by one tool can be used by another tool. See, for designing, I'm having one tool. For software, for coding also, I heard somewhere that for coding also nowadays we are having tool. If tools are all developed for coding also, then remember where all the software engineers will be. Till now, the software engineers are only writing the code, right? Most of the software jobs for us are nothing but programming coders, right? We'll be writing the code for solving a problem. I heard that there are also some tools which are able to code. I'll give a problem and that is able to code, right? In that case, it will be very ridiculous for software engineers. We don't know where we'll get the jobs in the future. If we are having that much of automation in everywhere, we can't imagine in the later jobs. So going into, coming out of it, here what I'm saying is the tools are integrated. The information created by one tool can be used by another tool. By using a design tool, I prepared some diagrams. That data will be taken as input for next tool, for coding tool. That data will be taken as input for the next tool, for testing tool. The testing tool will take the data that is generated previously and it will perform testing. So, right, that is one tool data is integrated to another tool. For example, you are having PDF converters, right? Online PDF converters. I don't know whether most of you have checked them. Word document can be converted into PDF. Right, Excel can be converted into PDF, or PDF to PowerPoint, or PowerPoint to some other thing. So all these are integrated. Now, one format of data is taken as input and is converted into another format, right? Same thing happens in software engineering tools also. So these are the 4 things you need to remember while considering the layer technology: quality focus, next are the process models, next is the methods, and the next is the tools. Okay, this is the layered technology approach. And next, going into the software process. Before going to software process, we'll be seeing some definitions. that you people need to know before going into the subject. The first one we told is process. A process is collection of activities, actions, and tasks that are performed when some work product is to be created. See, I told process. What this process does is this is going to help me to produce my work product. What is the work product? Work product is the final executable code that I'm going to generate. That is the main goal, right? In order to produce that work product, this process gives me some collection of activities. It will ask me to do some activities. In that activities, it will ask me to do some actions. In that actions, it will ask me to do some tasks, so that by following all this procedure, finally, I'll be able to produce my work product, right? So process, I can say that it is a collection of activities, first thing, okay? Now coming into an activity strives to achieve a broader objective. So activity, what it resembles is it gives us a very broader objective and is applied. Someone has అసలు కంప్లీట్ గా సినిమాకి వెళ్ళిపోయారు. So right, see here, activities tries to achieve a broader objective. So broader objective regardless of application domain, regardless of size of the project, regardless of complexity of the effect, regardless of degree of rigor to which the software engineering is to apply. So what this activity strives is, it gives us a big picture. It gives me a broader objective. Regardless of there is, I don't need to consider which application I'm going to develop. I don't want to consider what will be the size of my project, what will be the effect, how many resource persons are needed, what will be the cost, what is the degree of risks I'm going to face. I'll keep all those things aside. This activity gives me a broader objective of doing my generating my work project. So for example, communication with the stakeholders. So one of the activity in any process is, first activity I'll say is communication with the stakeholders. So this is very broader thing. I'm asking you to communicate with the now stakeholder is, you need to know this terminology. Stakeholder is any person or a group or a company who is having stake in your project. I can say any person or any company or any group of persons or anyone who is directly or indirectly involved in your project, okay, who will get affected or who is going to affect the outcome of that project. We'll call them all them as stakeholders. For these stakeholders will be of two types. First one we'll call as internal stakeholders, and the next one is, student, there is someone who is disturbing the class. Who is that one? Who is it? 65 law. CR, ask the 65 to call me. He is of B section, right? Ask the 65 to call me after the class.
A section, ma'am.
A section, huh? Okay, right. A section CR. Please ask him to call me after the class. Okay. The activities tries to be a broader objective. This is what we told here, and we are saying the definition for stakeholder. What we are saying is, stakeholder is any person who is involved, who is directly or indirectly involved in the project development, who will be affected by the outcome of the project. Any person can be called as a stakeholders. Generally, we'll be having two types of stakeholders. One will be internal stakeholders, and the next one is external stakeholders. External stakeholders, example, we can say the client or some government who is going to give us some data to do our work. So they are not involved in our project, but they are helping me to complete my project. Some client who is going to give me some finance by which I will complete my project, right? Some other external person who is involved in the project. All those comes under external stakeholders, and internal stakeholders will be the person who are involved, internally involved, in the sense it can be a project manager. He is going to give the schedule. It can be the programmers. It can be the developers who are involved, right? It can be the company persons who are all the company persons that are involved in the development process. All these comes as stakeholders, right? For example, to give any real life application, for suppose if I'm having a canteen business, my project there is to run my canteen. I'm having some canteen business. In order to run that canteen, I'll be having two types of stakeholders. One is internal stakeholder and the external stakeholder. External stakeholder will be someone who is coming from outside and will and is helping me to run my canteen. In the sense, I can say some provision person. I'll get tie up with shop that people that will give me provisions day to day. All right, I need some provisions to run the canteen, to prepare the food, right? All those provisions will be provided to me by some X person. I'll say he's an external stakeholder, right? And there is one vegetable person who is coming every day and giving me all those vegetables, all the milk, everything that is necessary to run the canteen. So all these are involved in my project. All these are involved in my canteen business, but these are the external persons who are helping me, right? And internal persons will be the owner or the suppliers or the staff who is going to prepare the food. All these comes under internal stakeholders. So hope you understood. Stakeholders can be any person who is directly or indirectly involved in my project, involved in my business, right? This comes as stakeholders. So activity is, we told that it gives you a broad, big picture. It gives us a broader objective. Example for one activity is communication. We'll see in next slides. And next is activity contains group of actions. I'm saying process contains group of activities. Activities contain group of actions. I'm going in detail into the action phase. Now what this action contains is, it contains some set of tasks that produce a major work product. So one of the action here, I'm saying communicate with the stakeholder, right? I just told you activity is to communicate with the stakeholder. When I go into action, I need to go in detail into communication with stakeholder. Now how I'm going to communicate with the stakeholder? Maybe I'll prepare a PPT and ask the client to sit, stakeholders to sit. Maybe I'll interview the stakeholders. Maybe I'll give some documents to the stakeholders and ask them to give some feedback. By some way or the other, I should communicate with the stakeholders, right? So all this comes under actions. How I'm going to communicate with the stakeholders, all these comes under actions, right? And action in detail, it contains group of tasks. Again, going into narrow things, right? Here I'm saying I'll communicate with the stakeholder. Here I am saying I'll communicate with the stakeholder by giving some presentation, right? And coming into task, how I'll give some presentation. In order to give some presentation, I need to first invite I need to list out who are all the stakeholders, who are all the persons involved in my project. Next, I need to invite all those persons, give them some date, some time, ask them to attend. So these are the minute things to be done, right? So process contains group of activities, activities contains group of actions, actions contains group of tasks. So from a broader objective, we are going in detail into a minute thing, okay? By which, finally, why are we doing all these things? We are doing all these things to produce our work product correctly, quality work product. Then for that purpose, we are doing all these things. So these are the small definitions you need to know. We'll be seeing next. Next one is software process. What we are saying here is, in the context of software engineering, a process is not rigid for building your computer software. Process in the sense, it is not any fixed thing. When coming to software engineering context, when coming to software development context, software process is not any fixed thing. It can be, it is an adaptable approach that enables the people doing the work, that is the software team, to pick and choose the appropriate set of works, actions and tasks. So in the process, I'll be saying that you can do these set of activities. I'll not fix that you should definitely do all this fixed set of activities. You can do all this set of activities. And the next, the software team, what they'll do is they'll check which are all the activities that will be adapted for their development process. They'll choose the appropriate things and they'll do the actions accordingly, right? So this process contains a fixed framework. See here, the process framework established the foundation for a complete software engineering process by identifying a small number of framework activities that are applicable to all software products regardless of the size and the complexity. So this process framework is a fixed set of framework that is adapted, that is applicable to all the project regardless of the size and the complexity of the product. So students, these are all the just basic things you need to keep when anyone say, while in terms of software engineering, when anyone say activity, you need to know what is the activity in software engineering, what action, task, you need to know all these definitions. So now we'll go in detail into software process framework. See here, I'm saying that I'm having a software framework which is common for all the software development. See, I'll be having 5 framework activities which is common for all the projects development regardless of the complexity or size of the project. Now, what are all the 5 framework activities is? The first framework, this everyone should know all these 5 framework activities. The same activities will be repeated in all the process models with a slight variation. See, these are the 5 framework activities which each and every person, even if I ask you, raise your question while you are sleeping, you should tell me, okay, madam, 5 activities are communication, planning, modeling, construction, and deployment. Why? Because these activities will be common for all the process models. So in that, the first activity is communication. So what this communication is, when you are asked to develop any software, the first thing you need to do is, first activities is communication, and analysis also comes here. What we'll be doing in communication is, before any technical work can commence, it is critically important to communicate and collaborate with the customer. So the customer asks you to develop some application. He is asking you to develop some ATM application. Before starting the ATM application, first of all, you need to clearly communicate with the stakeholder, clearly communicate with the client. Why? Because you need to know the objective of developing your ATM application. What are all the modules that should be included in the ATM application? What the customer is expecting us to do? What are all the basics needs he want, right? How he is imagining his application to look like? What kind of interfacing he is expecting? What technical things he is expecting in our project? So in order to know all these things, first of all, I need to have a clear communication with the stakeholders. The communication, I'm giving it in the first activity. It doesn't mean that only in the first phase I need to communicate. This communication can be done in all the activities also, in all the phases also, right? But the first thing while starting the project we need to keep in mind is a communication. And the next one is planning. See, generally, in order to go for any journey, or if suppose I want to go for any new place, I'm going to very new place which I have never been previously. In that case, definitely I'll follow some Google map which will guide me to reach my destination, right? So in order to reach some place, I'm following some mapping, so I'm following some route maps, right? So in the same way, for developing any software project also, you need to follow some map. Here the map is called as software project plan. So this is a route map which is going to help you in developing your successful product finally. Okay. This route map, I'll call it, this Google map here we'll be calling, in the case of software, we'll call it as a software project plan. What this software project plan contains is, it contains some software engineering work by describing the technical tasks to be conducted for developing some product. What are the technical tasks to be conducted? What are the risks that I'm going to have in my future? I'm going to face in future? What are the resources that will be required for me? What kind of programming languages I need? What are the external resources I need from other people? Now, what are the work products to be produced? along with the executable code, I need to produce some documents, right? I need to prepare some user manuals, some logs, some files, so that it will be helpful for all the end users. Not only the not only the running code, I also need to prepare some manuals according to this. So what are all the work products to be produced, and what is the work schedule? If I have a clear plan of all these things, then only I can move forward and finally produce my quality product, right? So all these will be included in our project plan. So right, the second phase you need to remember is planning. Planning includes what are all the technical tasks I need to perform. For suppose for ATM application, what are the technical things? What kind of softwares I should use? What are the risks I'll be facing? What are the resources I need there? What is the manpower I need there? What will be the cost budget? What is within what budget I'll be able to develop the product? Within how much time I'll be able to complete that product? How many human resources are needed for me? Right? What are all the documents I need to prepare finally? I'll have a picture of all these things that comes under planning. Okay. And next is modeling. So even in the case of anything, it will be easy for us to remember if we see it in a diagrammatical way instead of having a complete theory, right? So suppose if I give you a big essay and ask you to read, it will be difficult for you people to remember all the theory part. Instead, on the other side, what I do is all this theory I represented. I use some mind map software and I gave a diagrammatical view of all the theory, right? A flowchart representation of all the theory. Then in that case, it will be easy for you to remember, right? Same thing in the case of software development also. In the project plan, I prepared a complete plan, complete theory of what should be done. In the next phase, what I'll do is I perform modeling. I prepare models. Take the case of a normal builder, normal civil constructor, builder, civil builder. What he does is his job is to prepare big projects, build big buildings, right? Initially, what he does is he prepares a sketch. He prepares a model, a sketch of how the building should look like. What will be the elevation of that building? What is the look of that building? He'll prepare a clear sketch of that building. In next stage, what we'll do is he'll go in detail into that. He'll keep on digging in detail into that sketch, right? He'll take the first sketch of first floor. He'll see how the first floor looks like. What are all the maybe partitions that should be done in first floor, right? And next he'll go for second floor. And coming into the first floor, in the next stage, he'll go in detail into that first floor. What he'll do is, what will be the room size of that first floor? Where will be the window where will be the doors coming in that first floor? In the sense, he's starting from a broader objective of complete building plan, and he's going in detail into the minute things, right? So he's preparing the sketches of all these things, which will help him in building the project in a better way, right? Same in the case of a software also. What this software engineer does is, he first create the models to better understand software requirements and the design that will achieve those requirements. See here, while in communication phase, the client communicated with me, and he gave me some requirements. He is expecting something from in our project, right? All those requirements will be modeled in this modeling phase. That means designs will be prepared in this modeling phase regarding what should be done. What are all the modules that should be included in our things, right? What are all the functions that should be included? How the big picture is going to look like? We'll prepare the big architecture model first here. And next we'll go in detail. As in the real life example I told, from big building to first floor, from first floor to in detail of room size, from room size to in detail of doors and walls, all these things. In the same way, in software engineering also, first of all, we'll first build the complete system model, how the system is going to look like, from where to where the communication is being done. And next we'll go in detail and prepare some only minute things, right? You'll be having we'll learn it this designing in the next classes. You'll be have most of the cases for designing will be using UML. Using that UML, we'll be preparing the flowchart kinds of things we'll be seeing in the next stages, right? And the next one is the construction phase. In the construction phase, this activity combines code generation. Maybe this code is done manually, or you're having automated tools for coding also, which I previously mentioned. Till now, most of the coding is done manually by the programmers. We will be in a stage after some time where we'll be having some automated tools to perform coding, right? So first thing is in construction, first thing is code generation. Not only writing the code, you need to test whether the code is working or not, right? That comes under testing. Code generation and the testing that is required to uncover errors in the code. While writing the code, definitely we'll be having some errors, right? And in the testing, we'll test each and every module and identify all those errors and rectify that in detail, right? So testing is done to check whether our development has done according to the user requirements. So main thing you need to remember here is all these things should be done as per the user objective, as per the client objective. Whatever the client is expecting from us, so all these things should be done as per. Finally, we should satisfy the client only, right? Because he is the person who has given us the project and so on. Excuse me. So this is the construction phase. And the last one is the deployment phase. That is releasing your product, right? The software as a complete entity or as a partially completed entity is delivered to the customer. So why I gave you this in the practice is you'll be have brackets. Why? Because you'll be having some process models we'll be learning where after completing the project completely only we'll be deploying it to the client in some models. Whereas in some models, we'll not complete the project completely, but we'll release it in different versions, in different releases. In first part, you'll be releasing the product to some extent. In the next version, next part, you'll be releasing to some other extent. So that is the reason I told him is the software is released here, but it can be a complete entity or partially completed incremental entity, right? Is delivered to the customer who evaluates the delivered product and provides feedback based on the evaluation. Now, what this customer is going to do is here you will be performing testing, you will be rectifying all the errors, and then only you will be releasing it into the market. You will give it to the client. Now, what this client is going to do is he is going to run the product in the real life. He is going to use it in the real life, and he's going to check whether again he's facing any other issues. What we call here is user acceptance testing, right? User should finally accept our product, right? It's not the programmers who run the code and say that okay, it's very good. We are not the people who should do it. Because we should finally satisfy the client or the user, right? The user should run our code finally, and finally he should accept the product completely, right? So that is done here. The user is going to run the product and he's going to give us some feedbacks based on his evaluation. And if we are having any negative feedback, then again it goes back. Again, we keep on make changes and the cycle repeats, right? So process contains some framework. These are the 5 activities which each and every person should know, right? In software engineering. First one is communication. Interact with the client, interact with the stakeholders, gather all the requirements, what he's expecting us to do, take all the necessary documents from him, which will help us in developing our product, take all the information from him, previous information from him, if any relevant information is there, right? And next one is plan. After communicating, you got all the feedback, you got all the information. Now you need to start your project, right? Before starting any work, we'll have a plan, right? Now in software engineering, we are calling this plan as software project plan. You prepare a software project plan. What this plan contains is it contains all the technical things that should be considered. What are the risks that should be that will be faced? What are the resources necessary for us to do our project? What are the work products? What are all the documents we need to produce? What will be the work schedule? What will be the cost? What will be the budget? All these things will have a big plan of all these things. After planning, now all the theory part is over for you. You had a now what you want is you want the designing model of all the things that should be done by us, right? You prepare the designs here. Design models will be prepared in this phase. Graphical representation will be prepared in this phase. After the graphical representation is over, next we'll go for construction phase. What are all the diagrams we prepared here? By using those, we'll try to write the coding for all those diagrams, for all those modules. In construction phase, mainly we'll do coding, and after coding, we'll test it. We call it as testing phase. All these both are included in this construction. And the last one we'll be having is the deployment phase. Here we are going to deliver the product to the user, and the product is tested by user, and we'll be waiting for acceptance testing from him. User will be giving us the feedback and by evaluating our product, right? So these are the 5 framework activities that should be done. Students, are you able to understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Shall we continue for 5 minutes, or shall we?
Your wish, ma'am.
Continue, ma'am.
Shall I continue? Just a small, just a 5 minutes.
Okay, ma'am.
See, here we learn some framework activities, right? 5 framework activities. These 5 framework activities will be always supported by some umbrella activities in the background. See, right, if you are using any application on your laptop, in the front end, you will be seeing that application, but there will be some applications which are always running in the background, right? Maybe, for example, your antivirus software. See, antivirus software will always be running, even though you're not seeing it, it is always being running in the background. Some drivers related to audio, some drivers related to video, all these will be running in the background. In the same way, in software project development also, in process framework, these 5 frameworks which we will be seeing, we'll be knowing that we are in this phase, we are second phase, we are in third phase. But wherever you are in these 5 phases, there will be some activities that are running in the background in every stage, right? All those background activities, we call them as umbrella activities. Software engineering process framework activities complemented by a number of umbrella activities. In general, umbrella activities are applied throughout a software project and help a software team manage and control progress, quality, change, and risk. So in background activities, we are having umbrella activities. In that, the first one is software project tracking and control. So wherever you are in the framework phases, 5 phases, first thing is project tracking and control is always checked by some team, right? So what we'll be doing in this project tracking and control is we have planned something in this planning phase, right? We are going on, our work is going on. We should check whether our work is going on according to the schedule, according to our plan, what we have planned and what is going on. The same thing should be going on, right? But suppose maybe I have planned that my product should be completed within 6 months of time. Now that for 1 month I need to complete this much part, for second month I need to complete this much part. Now there should be someone who is keeping on checking me, who is keeping on tracking my progress, right? That is done by this software project tracking and control, tracking my progress, and if I'm behind to some extent, we'll see the controlling measures, what to do next, how to reach, how to go forward. All these things is done here. So what we are saying it allows the software team to access progress against the project plan and take any necessary action to maintain the schedule. So what it is here is, it is checking our progress, whether we are going according to the plan, and it is taking necessary action to maintain the schedule. Number 203, please. Next one is risk management. Access risks that may affect the outcome of the project or the quality. So risk management, we will be checking the risks that are facing, that we are facing maybe while project planning or in the initial stage of project planning, we'll be able to identify some kinds of risks that we'll face in the future, right? Maybe after some period of time, when it comes into real life, there'll be some more new risks that are added while our project is running. Maybe you plan to develop your project with some 10 members of 10 team members. Okay, while you are starting the project, you are having 10 members in your team. But later on, due to some issues, maybe 4 or 5 members have left the organization. Then you are having only 5 members in your project. So that is the risk that happened unexpectedly, right? We didn't expect it in the beginning. Even though you are facing that risk, you should know how to recover it, whether to take the new people in between, or whether to whether the existing people are going to work for more number of time. I should have some measure to overcome that risk, right? So that is done by this risk management. This is always done in the background. Okay, and the next one is software quality assurance. There will be a quality assurance team in every organization who will be giving us some standards, who will give us some rules, some methods. By following those standards, if I follow all those standards, I'll be able to produce a better quality product. So that is done by this quality assurance team. It will always check whether the product we are going to develop is of quality or not, is of better quality. See, you'll be seeing an ISO mark in any hardware components. In a fan or any hardware devices, we'll be seeing some ISO mark. So it is a standard saying that product is of good quality, right? So the quality assurance team will be seeing all those things. And the next one is technical reviews. Technical reviews in the sense, after some period of time, reviews will be conducted by the technical team. Technical team in the sense, maybe a project manager will conduct some reviews, maybe higher superiors will be conducting reviews, and we are asked to display what are all the works that is done until now. What will be the use of doing this is, we don't know. According to our perspective, we went on developing we went on coding according to our knowledge. We don't know how far we are correct, right? If we present it openly in a seminar, in a review, then all the experts will be watching us. They'll be giving us some better suggestions, some good suggestions, which will help us in the future, right? Suppose if I have done some error, I have not identified that error, I have not shown my progress to any of the person, I have not identified the error even. What I do is, with this error only, I keep on continuing to the next stages, right? And finally, when I reach to the end, I'll get a wrong output. I don't know why that output has come wrong, right? Where I have missed the code. It will be difficult for me to trace after some period of time, right? So if that point is traced in the beginning stage itself, then it will be easy for me, right? So that will be, in that way, the technical reviews will be helpful for us. So technical team will be conducting some reviews and asking us to give the progress of our software development process in each stage. And the next one is software configuration management. So what this software configuration management tells us is, it manages the effects of change throughout the software process. See, if you do any sort of change in your software, suppose you are having some 10 lines of program code written by you, maybe you have done a small change. You changed a variable from smaller case to uppercase. There will be some effect of doing that change, right? I'll have some effect of changing that variable name from smaller to capital. Maybe in only one area I have changed from smaller to capital. In some other areas I haven't changed. I haven't noticed all those things. So while making any change in the code, definitely it will be affected in some way or the other. So this configuration management team will be seeing the effect of changes that are done throughout the process phase. If you want to do some change in your phase, how far it is going to affect the rest of the phases, how far it is going to affect the rest of the areas, that will be configured by this software configuration management. Next one is usability management. So usability management, these people will be always helping us to produce the work products that will be reused. Okay, and establish the mechanisms to achieve reusable components. Suppose I'm developing some product software, I'm having the same software which is developed previously. Now what I'm doing is I'm just making some small minute extension to that older software. Then I can reuse the older software to the maximum extent, right? I don't need to start it from the beginning. I'll reuse the previous software, reuse the previous components to the maximum, and only make my necessary changes. So this is done by this is monitored by the reusable management team, right? And finally, the work product preparation and production. As I told you, producing a software doesn't mean that producing only the code. You also need to produce number of documents related to that code. Number of documents in the sense you need to prepare document regarding modeling, diagrams. You need to prepare document regarding the plan. You need to prepare document regarding user interfacing, right? You need to prepare a user manual. You need to produce a hardware manual. All these things, everything should be prepared. So all those comes under work products. So work product preparation and production. This is monitored, always being monitored in the background. So students, maybe I have taken some extra time. I have killed your time today. Why? Because this is a continuation topic for this framework activities. Again, if I start it newly from the tomorrow, I need to repeat the same thing again. So in the today's class, the main concept we saw is this framework activities. We are having 5 activities. This framework activities is always complemented by a umbrella activities in this background, right? Umbrella activities include software project tracking and control, risks that are facing, quality assurance team always monitoring us regarding the quality, technical reviews that should be conducted up to date, configuration management, the effect of changes that we have made, reusability, how far the previous components are being helpful for us, how far we can use them, and what are all the documents or products we need to prepare other than our executable code. So these are all the umbrella activities that should be done. So do you have any doubts? Any of you have doubts? Students, any doubts?
No, ma'am.